Hello, Detroit cricket lovers. Welcome to the DCL talk show, and it's on DCL radio. Now, today is September 20th, and we are into for semi-final stages of Detroit Cricket League. We're a bit late, but I assure you one thing: we are going to have a rocking show today. Right now, I have two of our regular analysts, Imthi and KK, with me, and I asked Avinash to join the show because Jasneet had some emergency, and he said he'll be joining around 9:30 to the show. Okay, Avi, I'm thinking you are on the show.
Yes, Jagan, I am.
Okay, thanks a lot for coming to the show in the last second, man.
No worries. It's happened before for cricket games where suddenly I get a call saying, "Hey, this guy dropped out. Can you please join?" So it's the first time for me on a radio show.
Okay, thanks a lot. Welcome to the show,
My
Imthi.
pleasure.
Thanks, Jagan, and I welcome all our DCL listeners, DCL talk show listeners to this exciting week with our analysis and the predictions.
Okay, I'm just locking the shows. No, I'm not locking this show. I want Jesse to join. After Jesse joins, I'll lock the show so that there won't be any additional disturbances for us, because we have very tight agenda to discuss about today. The first one is, did I welcome KK? KK, welcome to the show. Sorry.
Thanks, Jagan. You already mentioned that I'm on the show, so it's fine. Welcome all the listeners. So the exciting last 2 weeks of DCL 2018, and let's see what is in store.
Okay. The first thing that we are going to discuss tonight is, what kind of pressure umpires will have to go through during knockout games. Okay. So I'll start with Imthi, who experienced both sides of the coin, especially as a captain. And he also did umpiring a couple of seasons. So, and he's going to do umpiring this weekend, which is what I'm guessing. So, into your thoughts, what kind of pressure will be there?
Yes, Jagan, it's. I think we have visited these topics, like what an umpire goes through in every game, and I think a playoff game is no different to other games, but from a result perspective, it has higher stakes, and maybe that puts more pressure on the umpire, I guess. But at the same time, it's the same rules, it's the same basic knowledge that you need to umpire a game. So I think from an umpiring perspective itself, it's no different from any other game. But because the teams have played so well and they have reached so far to this playoff level, so I think that extra amount adds to the pressure. So I think that is where most of the captains are trying to get the best umpires possible for their games, and even the selection process itself is kind of becoming a little laborious, I would say, like a long process than the actual selection itself. So all these things kind of mixed together, like puts that additional pressure and so much importance to the umpiring for these playoff games. But from an umpiring perspective, I would say, like, I've umpired playoff games, and I've also played, at least this season, I've been part of the playoff games and I've experienced the other side of it. But I think the only thing I can say, like, umpires can just do what they do. Like, they just have to stick to the basics and follow the rules of the game, and not take anything personally, or not try to uh, get affected by any of the things that happen in the game. So
Okay, see, let me ask you a question here. Here, two teams are picking you as an umpire, okay, which I feel is an additional burden to, justify these two guys. How to handle that one? If you have to say not out, obviously, okay, the other team that picked you will be feeling bad. Okay, if you say out, the team that picked you, and
so I'm not sure if I understood your question correct, but like, from what I am seeing, when both the teams are selecting you as an umpire, I think they have that faith in you, saying that you would be giving a good decision or a correct decision at that point. I don't think it's something to do with that you'll favor a team when they pick you or anything like that. But I think it's more about having faith in that
No. See, I'm not
umpire.
talking about favors or anything like that. I'm
No,
sure
I know.
no umpire in our league is going to favor any team. That much,
Right.
trust I have. But what kind of pressure will it bring on any umpire? Not just you, any umpire. Will there be any pressure because of that one? Basically, this thought will help committee to come up with a new, set of rules which will take burden out from umpires as well as from the captains. So, any thoughts?
So I think to put this discussion to, like, from what I am understanding, I think the only possible way to have a clean and neat process of having selecting an umpire for a playoff game is to get as neutral as possible. Just pick somebody that is not part of the league. Then in that case, because if that is what I'm understanding from your question.
No, I guess Imthi, if I can butt in, if you don't mind, I think I understood what Jagan is saying. And look, if I was one of the, first of all, I was very surprised that the playing captains get to suggest umpires. That's something I've never heard before, except in DCL. It kind of makes sense, and at the same time, it's a bit surprising as well. But to answer your point, Jagan, at least I would think that a captain, any captain, if he requests a certain umpire, it's because he feels that that umpire will do the best possible job, and not necessarily because that guy is going to be partial towards my team. So it's the reasoning behind why someone picks an umpire should be the standard of their umpiring. I mean, if I pick Imthi to umpire a game that I play in, it's because I trust that he is as impartial as he can be. And if it so happens that he gives me out LBW or caught behind or whatever, then I have to take it on the chin and walk away. I mean, it can happen that he may give a wrong decision. He's human after all. But that's where the maturity level comes in. I mean, and sure, I don't mean to sound like a saint. There have been times when I've probably been disappointed. I generally try not to voice it on the field unless it's completely atrocious. But but if I request an umpire, it's because I think he's the best man for the job, and that's one less thing for me to worry about, and not the fact that he's a good buddy of mine, and therefore, no matter how clear it is, he's going to give me not out. But I don't think that's the reason at all why anyone should choose umpires.
I think I put a lot of pressure on Imthi with this question, so I'll move on. I'll go to KK.
No, but did that answer your question, though?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, yep.
Okay.
KK, your thoughts? Do you have any suggestion? What do you see?
So
yeah.
Yes, Jagan. Before we go there, right? For the ICC games, even they wanted to reduce the number of human errors. They introduced DRS, which they experimented for almost a decade, and now they have a solution which is not 100% foolproof, but yes, it is getting close. So whereas in DCL we have umpires who are umpiring the game without any technological privileges, and as humans they are prone to error sometimes. But we have to again understand the fact that these umpires are standing there and doing their job, not favoring any teams, and whatever the umpire feels at that moment in time, he sees the ball for a fraction of a second and he has to make a judgment call. And more often than not, our umpires have called a good game. We have to respect that fact, and umpires have to continue to do that. And oppositions also have to respect the umpires and respect the game in particular. That's the best we can hope for, Jagan.
Okay, very well. So I'll quickly get into our second topic of the night, which is, do you guys have any suggestions for umpires? Okay, I'll start with Imthi. Imthi, if you are umpiring a game, do you have any suggestion for yourself? Again,
I think no. I think this is a little easier than the first question, actually. So whenever I'm going for umpiring, usually what I keep reminding myself that I just need to take time before making a decision, because that decision will heavily impact one of the teams, definitely. And come playoff games, sometimes these are like the key moments in the game where the game could swing either way. So always take time before making a decision, and only make a decision out if you're 100% sure about what you're calling. Or else, even if you have a slightest amount of doubt, I usually give the benefit of doubt to the batsman. So, and most of the time it's always the keeper catches or the LBWs that all come into contention, and obviously runouts are there. But uh, I think LBWs are like kind of the most debated decisions. So, and that's why I kind of keep reminding myself to take my own time before making a decision and uh, go in that way. Yep.
Okay, Vamsi, do you have any suggestions?
Yes, Jagan. So usually this is what I do, right? Before the game starts, I'll call the other umpire to, and I'll call both the captains and say, we both are going to umpire this game. Do you have any objections? The calls that we make in this game are neutral calls, are not to favor any of the teams. Of course, if I know individuals from both the teams, I'll say this, that I have friends in both the teams, that's not going to impact any of my decisions or calls. So I'll first seek their permission to start the game, and if they're all set, then we'll start the game. And with respect to what Imthi said, right, usually this is what I'll do. With respect to LBWs, where they become the most controversial, right, I'll only go and give it as an out if I'm sure that it's going to hit the middle swing.
Okay. Quite often you are on receiving side, Avi. So
well, my suggestion to the umpires is, ultimately, yes, like Imthi put it, especially as you get towards the end of the season, the playoff games, where every decision of yours has a pretty important consequence. Always, first, upfront, just be confident and have faith in yourselves. And secondly, if you are not quite sure about the decision, seek help. There is a square leg umpire, there is a third umpire. So the league does make provisions to have redundancy. So make full advantage of it, and after that, just make the best call you think you're making. Yes, invariably, there will always be someone who is disappointed. Like you said, it might even end up being me again this coming Saturday. But if that's the case, that's fine. We can always sort it out after the game. Worst case, we can agree to disagree. So, but yeah, just back yourselves. And good point that KK mentioned was just maybe during the toss time, just talk it out frankly with both captains. Tell them, look, I will try and do the best job I can. Please follow what I do, accept whatever I give, and let's just keep. Ultimately, it's a question of mutual respect. Both the players as well as the umpires have to be respectful towards each other. Ultimately, it's the sanctity of the game that has to be maintained. And the kind of incidents we had like a week or two ago was just shameful. So you have to realize that nobody is out there to actually sabotage you or your team. It's a recreational activity, for God's sakes. So just if both sides keep that in mind, I think it should be a lot smoother than we feel it is.
So based on whatever you guys are saying, the only controversial thing, only that thing tough on umpires is LBW more often.
No, that's not really true. There are close caught behinds that can sometimes cause a lot of controversy.
Now you have third umpire assistants there, so that 99% of the times that is taken care, right?
Correct. LBWs again LBWs are the main controversy. There's always stumping. Sometimes can be a bit of a close call, especially when you have keepers like Harsha Chalasani, who is insanely quick, and he's probably one of the best I've seen. So the umpire has to be really sharp. I umpired a Mishka game and he was the keeper, and my God, I didn't take my eyes off of the crease line, and it turns out I had to give my Pokiris teammate Vignesh out that day. So and to his credit, he walked away. And just the ball before that, I said not out for another very close call. And so but ultimately both me and Harsha knew that okay, we'll both do the best we can. So yes, LBWs, stumpings, they can all even close runouts at times. But like I said, the umpire just has to make the best call he can and then stay firm, no matter how much the fielding side yells in their faces. I've seen that happen.
Just a thought, LBW, every out given to LBW should be a soft out. just in case leg umpire walks and says, there's a bat involved, or
well, no, this whole business of soft calls is can only add to the controversy. It happened in an international game recently. I forget which one, but they were the commentators were of the view that this whole business of soft calls should not be there, because I think if there is an umpire's call, or if there is any bit of doubt, then it will automatically go to the first impression that the umpire had, which might not necessarily be the correct one.
Okay. So, yes, you're on the same thoughts, KK?
Yes, and there is one more point I want to add, Jagan. This is with respect to the runouts at the non-strikers end. The umpire should try to the best of their ability to get in line with the crease, so that they'll have a clear view, when the bails were taken off, or when there is a direct hit, is the bat inside the crease or not. We have seen in many games wherein the umpires stay in their position and try to judge it from there, which is a horrific mistake in my view.
Sometimes what happens is we are not so used to doing these umpiring things, so suddenly in our league, what's happening? Suddenly a bowler is umpire. Okay, normally he plays DCL as a bowler or as a batsman. Nobody plays as an umpire. So it's very difficult for these movements. But definitely, DCL is improving a lot in terms of umpiring compared to last 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, okay. My suggestion was for the upcoming semi-final games.
Yeah. See, once I had this issue, and quickly Sai of Falcons, he said, you have to take a position, and after that, I always keep that in my mind, and I'll try to quickly react and take a nice position to see those runouts. Okay, so somebody has to remind people. Good, but you have brought in a nice point there. Imthi, do you want to add anything there, or we can move to next point?
No, I think everything like what we were thinking is being covered. Like just to add to that one point, that yes, like you said, we are not used to play as an umpire in the game, but I think whoever is going for an umpiring job will try their best to do the umpiring there. So like moving into right positions and all that, it is more of a thing that needs to be like you have to stay in the game and be aware of what's happening, and that will bring out those small things like being in the right positions and making the right decisions. So
yeah, see, another thing I want to tell personally is, umpires have to change every over. That way, the concentration laps won't be there. If somebody is doing 5 hours continuously, or I'll do 10 hours, you'll do 10 hours, like that, there is a chance of lapse in the concentration. So it's always 1 hour at it. 1 hour, every 1 hour switching is really good. That's what I feel personally.
Yes, I agree to that, but I think from what I have seen in the last few years, at least, I think for every playoff game, definitely the umpire switch for every over. I think you want to make it a point for all the league games also. That is what, if I'm understanding it correct.
Yeah.
And just to add one final point, Jagan, it's the way we label it, advice to umpires, it's almost like we're putting the entire blame or onus on them. I would also advise all the people playing that once an umpire has made a call, he's human as well. Just accept it and walk away. And I'm only saying this based on my own actions. If somebody were to say, "Here, look at your face in the mirror, Ravi," then I wouldn't even make this point. But I think it's also important to the players that don't over pressurize the umpires. Yes, appealing is part of the game. You have to appeal, but there should be limits. And I would just point our game as an example. Ourselves and versus Blazers last week. I think it was played in excellent spirit. There were a couple of decisions that were probably not accepted by the batting team in both cases. But none of us really stood there and fought or anything. And there was a no ball call that was a bit contentious, and I actually agreed with the Blazers on that one. But poor Imthi just smiled and walked away. And I think that's how it should be. And ultimately, like I said, it's just a recreational activity we're playing. So.
Yeah, I agree. First thing is teams have to start respecting the umpires, and I'm sure we improved a lot from quarterfinals onwards. Okay, and we have introduced some of these rules, like nobody can enter the field other than water boy, and nobody can see in the name of celebrations. As soon as wicket falls, everybody used to come into the field. Okay, all the spectators, I mean supporters. So even that one is gone. Nobody can enter now. So that's one thing. We will be reiterating again.
Yeah, we'll see about that this Saturday.
No, that's a strict rule. That's an automatic suspension. I don't know whether your captain conveyed it to you or not.
No, I'm more worried about the opposition than me, than our team.
I think I know what Avi is hinting at here.
Okay.
I'm sure he's listening as well.
No. It's totally. I mean, that's a rule. Nobody can enter. Okay. With that, let's get into our next segment, which is quarterfinal games analysis. And the first game of the night is FCC Agni versus Brownstone. Okay, your quick thoughts, Imthi, on this game.
Yeah, I think this could have been a very closely contested game, and I think it was for major part of the game. But then I think Brownstone, having the experience that they have, I think they kind of made it look easy in the end. But I would say it was just a pure brilliance from Talal Ikram. Who scored a 58, chasing the score of 103, and he also picked up a few wickets while bowling. So I think it was that one man difference that made the game for Brownstone. Because if you look at this game, FCC Agni batted first and scored 103 for 9 in 25 overs. And like they had good contributions from Raghu, their opener, and then Charan, and then Narendra Anek down the order, scoring close to 20 odd runs each of them. But I think from what I heard, Raghu, who kind of stayed for almost the entire innings, and he couldn't really score much, at least because I don't see the number of balls that he faced in the scorecard. But that is what I heard, and that maybe the scoring rate in the end was not as they would have liked, FCC Agni. But in the end, it's a playoff game, and scoring 100 runs and putting up that score on the board in a playoff game is always a very good score, I would say. Halfway into the game, I think FCC Agni should have fancied their chances, and I think they did start well also in the bowling department. They got Rehan Malik out very quickly, but I think the second wicket partnership kind of stabilized the innings, and then from there, I think it was Talal Ikram who cautiously and very intelligently kept the scoreboard ticking. And in the end, I think Mohammad Shahzad also came in and had good blows to increase the scoring rate. And I think in the end, it was quite a comfortable victory. I was just looking at the scorecard and looking at the how Brownstone qualified for the playoffs, and once they entered the playoffs, I think they completely turned into a different team, and the momentum is all in their favor here, I think, and it will be an exciting semi-final game this weekend for Brownstone.
KK, your thoughts?
Yes, Jagan. Going into this game, I think FCC Agni missed their opener Tejasvi Vemuri. He was in form. He scored good amount of runs in the pre-quarters, and he was missing, which forced Raghu to open the innings. And they also had a few setbacks. Naresh Sundar getting out cheaply, and Sai Kiran Tota, who was their MVP throughout the season, he got out cheaply. But the rest of the batsmen, they managed to get that very good score. In fact, a very respectable total of 103 in 25 overs. But Talal Ikram had a fantastic outing. He took 3 wickets. He bowled 3 maidens, effected a run out, and he continued the form in batting as well. He opened the innings, and when you score 58 of the 103 required, then it makes it easy for your team, and that did happen in this game. And Brownstone are a very experienced unit, and if you see, most of their batsmen gave a start. They did not let the wickets fall in bunches. They knew what they had to do, and because that experience counts again, and that's what won them this game.
Okay, Abhi.
I unfortunately didn't get a chance to actually look up all the games, but from what little, and since I was playing as well on the field, so I obviously didn't pay much attention to the other games, but from whatever I saw, yeah, looks like Brownstown did a very good job of chasing down the total, because as I was leaving after our game, I asked the score. I think they were chasing 106 or something, and they were 70 odd or 80 odd for just loss of just 2 wickets, and with about 8 overs left. So that goes to show how well they chased down that target. So and in fact, that was the only game I believe where the target crossed into 3 figures. So I think Brownstown always are a team that make very optimal usage of their resources. They know exactly what their shortcomings and their positives are, and it looks like they played to their strength the other day. So congratulations, Brownstown. Very well done.
Okay, the next game of the night is Gladiators versus Warriors. Okay, though I don't know. See, I was watching at this game. Both not watching. Whenever I went there to see these teams, both teams were tensed. But end of the day, I thought it is one-sided game. Gladiators very easily won this one. Your thoughts, Imthi?
Yeah, I think the scorecard really doesn't show what transpired on the ground. I wish Jesse was here to walk us through the game, but yeah, since he's not here, I'll try my best to cover this game. We were in the next field, and whenever we were here, like for every wicket or every boundary scored, we were hearing like a lot of shouting and noise from the adjacent ground. So just going into this game, Warriors they batted first, thanks to Gladiators winning the toss and electing to field. I think their openers started off cautiously, but once they started losing the wickets, I think that is where the problem started for Warriors, because the top three batsmen from the top four went into double figures, but were not able to convert that into bigger scores. And once they lost the 3-4 wickets in the beginning, I think that is where the downfall started, and they lost wickets so they really couldn't recover from those quick wickets. And I think in the first half, like if I remember, like they were scoring very briskly also, but they did lose more wickets. Like they lost almost half the side in the less than 12 overs. So I think the intent to score freely or score at a brisk pace, I think made the downfall, where they lost quick wickets also in that process. So if you look at the bowling figures for Gladiators, I think it was Aditya's day. He picked up 5 wickets in his quota of 5 overs, and Satya also picking up 3 wickets, playing a good supporting role in the bowling department for Gladiators. And once you have a target of 85 or 86, playoff game, obviously there will be more pressure while chasing, but I think Gladiators have a very strong batting unit, and I think they would have definitely hoped that they could easily chase this down. Going into the chase, I think look at the fall of the wicket. They lost the first wicket in the 5th over for 16 runs. I think they did start cautiously, not to lose any quick wickets in the very first overs. But then Amog, again, like continuing from his pre-quarters form, where he scored bulk of the runs for Gladiators, put up a decent show here, scoring 18 runs. And then I think the star of the chase was Udit Parikh, scoring 41 from 58 balls. And again, like they did lose some quick wickets in the later half of the game, but I think by then the game was already in the bag for Gladiators. They just had to go through the formalities, and they chased down the score in 21 overs, and in the 22nd over for the loss of 6 wickets. If you look at the scorecard, I think it does look like a one-sided game, but I'm pretty sure there were like moments in the game where it could have been either team's game. But hard luck for Warriors in the end, and good luck to Gladiators for the next game.
Okay, due to time constraints, we will straight away jump into next game, and which will be analyzed by KK. Is that okay, KK?
Yes, Jagan. But can I just add a couple of points to this game?
Sure.
Yep. So in this Warriors game, right, I really felt that Jasneet and Bhargav should have played a little up the order and let Heyman play down the order because the best batsman in your team is Jasprit, and he has to play up the order and not in a pressure situation when they are half wickets down at the end of 12 overs, right? At the end of 12 overs, they were 50 for the loss of 5 wickets. That mounted a lot of pressure on Jasprit being the captain as well. Not that he didn't play in these situations earlier, but this is a playoff game and the team is banking on him. I thought maybe Jasprit, if he would have played up the order, he would have stabilized the innings much better with a lot of wickets in hand. And I really think that was the factor between these two teams. And your big hitter Heyman getting out within the first 10 overs might also have impacted the game. And for Gladiators, I would say this is Udit Parekh's game because these Bridges guys who have joined the Glads unit this time, they won this quarterfinal game for them. Aditya Bumaraju picking up those 5 wickets for 13 runs in 5 overs, and then Satya was phenomenal, taking up 3 for 14, and it was Udit Parekh's show when it came to batting.
Okay, the next game is TCS Stallions versus Knockers. So go ahead, KK.
Oh,
I'll give the next game Pokeries versus Blazers to Avi. Okay.
yes, he'll be the best person to explain that. Yep, I think this game was completely dominated by Knockers right from the set go. They got both the openers in the first 2 overs without conceding any runs. TCS Stallions was 0 for 2 within the first 5 minutes of the game, and there is no turning back from there, right? So and Knockers did put a lot of pressure, even though Ishan Patel and Shashank of TCS Stallions did try to put up a partnership and stabilize things. The rest of the batsmen failed to show up, and the experience of Prabhu, Praveen, and Deepak just dismantled TCS Stallions. And when it came to batting, Milan Patel just took the game away from Stallions. Even though Stallions took the first wicket of Prabhu in the first over, and then it was Rohit Chandke and Milan who put on that partnership. And then their seasoned cricketer Arun Lavakumar, Knockers captain, he was there. He made sure none of the wickets fall again, and it was a cakewalk for him from there.
Okay, when it mattered,
Sean failed.
And whereas Arun is really playing well, and their stars Deepak Patel and Praveen Bengar are really contributing. Okay.
Yep. What a spell that was, right? 5 overs, 3 maidens, and 6 for 3 in a playoff game. You cannot rule out champion bowlers. Yep, he did put up a performance for the ages.
Yep. The next game of the night is Blazers versus Pokeries. I'll give it to Avi.
Yes, this was a pretty good matchup, one which we felt was rather exciting and to even be a part of. And like we expected, Blazers won the toss and chose to bat first because, in our opinion, Blazers' stronger suite is bowling. So we figured that they'll probably look to put some runs up on the board and then put us under pressure by making us chase. And Blazers actually got off to a decent start. I think their opening partnership was around 20 to 25 runs, but then our guys started making regular breakthroughs, and they kind of kept losing wickets at regular intervals. And after I think their first 2-3 wickets, the batsmen tried to show some initiative, and they ended up hitting out and giving catches to long on. So, and then I think they kind of withdrew into a shell, thinking that okay, let's not try push for runs, let's try and bat the 25 out. So and this is where someone like Hari comes in for mention, because Hari Krishnan Muralidharan, because he pretty much was the sheet anchor for their innings that day, as he is on a lot of occasions. And he played very sensibly, working the ball, here and there for singles and twos, keeping his cool. And a couple of their batsmen tried to stick around for a while, and Imthi particularly stuck around for around 10 or 15 balls and tried to give him good support. But ultimately, the fact that we kept chipping in with wickets at regular intervals made them fold out for 74. But they did play almost 23 overs, which goes to show that they almost succeeded in playing through. And then they actually had a very good start to their bowling spell because we lost Vinod on the very first ball of the innings. And then Vicky started very promisingly, but then was foxed by one of their off spinner and got stumped. And so they were two big blows initially. And then I was feeling somewhat comfortable out there, but then I got undone by a ball that stayed low after pitching halfway through the pitch, and I was out without troubling the scorers much myself. And then Prasi also followed me not long after that. So we so Blazers were in with a very good chance in the beginning, and for a moment it looked like we were in real trouble. But then Ranjit, who's played really well this season, put his hand up and stuck around, and our skipper Ravi led from the front. He gave him very good support, and it was very refreshing to see Ravi play in such an assured fashion. And while the two of them were there, somehow we never lost hope, and both Ranjit and Ravi played really well and took us across the line. So, and I would just say that it finally came that we had one or two batsmen more than their bowling attack could take care of in that particular game. That's basically how I would sum it up. I remember when we had about 2 or 3 runs to win, I think Ranjit just pushed one between the sort of square leg and the mid wicket fielder for a single, and Imthi was the bowler, and his shoulders just slumped, and at that moment I felt really bad because Blazers have played well this season, and for all practical purposes we were pretty evenly matched. It just turned out to be a case of us having an inch more of firepower than they did. So very well played, Blazers. And like I mentioned earlier, it was a game played in excellent spirit. And a lot of us, of course, have played together in other tournaments, and we get along pretty well. So all in all, it was a very nice game to be part of.
Okay, I hope Imthi agrees with you. Okay, so before I go to our next segment, I just would like to lock our conference so that
conference locked.
We will talk about predictions now. Okay. I was waiting for Jesse. Normally I'll lock it. Okay, the first game of the night that we are going to discuss is Gladiators versus Pokeries, and we will see. I'm sure Imthi is umpiring one of these games. I think it is Brownstone Knockers. Which one is Imthi?
Yes, I think it's Brownstone and Knockers game that I'm umpiring. Yes.
So I will exclude you from that game. Okay.
Yes.
And that game will be analyzed by Avi and KK. And Gladiators versus Pokeries. Avi, if you want to add, you can add. You're more than welcome to add. I will start with KK. Okay. KK.
Yeah, thanks, Jagan. And before we go into the predictions, right, I want to take a couple of minutes here.
It's not just predictions. You have to give the strengths and weakness, and then get into prediction. Okay.
Sure, Jagan.
Yeah.
So over the last 3 years, right, there were a total of 60 plus radio shows that we did, and every single time we analysts come up with the analysis and give our predictions. Sometimes we go by stats, sometimes we form, sometimes we go by mind and heart, and sometimes we make friendly calls too on this very show, as most of you noticed. And we mentioned it multiple times on the radio show that the opinions that we provide on the show is our personal opinion and will have no impact on what happens on the field, right? I'm bringing up this because of an incident what happened last week during the quarterfinal game. I went as a spectator to watch the game. So before I go to the incident, right, Avinash, if you don't mind, I'll ask you a question. What do you do when someone verbally attacks you for not picking their team but picking their opponent?
I will say, dude, that is my opinion. Suck it up and try and prove me wrong. That's all I can say.
Yes. So let me just detail the incident. Right?
I'll probably say a more polite version of it, but that's basically my opinion.
So this is what happened, right? There was a league game between Gladiators and Legends during the week of August 25th. That was the last week for the league games. And the Gladiators almost faltered chasing that 82. They almost lost the game. But, thanks to their 8-wicket partnership, who put up a 20-run partnership, they won the game. And the same opponents, Legends and the Gladiators, were to face off in a pre-quarters game. Even though Glads is a heavyweight, I picked Legends this time. Is that wrong? I didn't think so. So this week, I went to the ground because for the pre-quarters, I was out of town. I didn't watch the games. For this week, I went to the ground and asked a few of the folks if Viju is here. And I went to the ground where Glads are playing Warriors and I greeted Viju and said, welcome back. And I was immediately attacked verbally with statements such as, what kind of junk analysis are you doing? You said Glads is a very powerful team, but picked, what team is that? Legends. And this is the statement that I got. And he was shouting and screaming at me in front of almost 20 people. There are a few other players in the Glads unit as well, with whom I played together. We won tournaments. Like, Sudhir and Aditya. I played with them. And I felt bullied by Viju at that point. I was very deeply hurt by this behavior of Viju, who is one of the very well-known individual in DCL community. I still respected his age and didn't say a word back. So the point I'm arriving at it is there are a few incidents that happened in the past few weeks. As I said, there are a few shameful incidents as well. One in the game between Brownstone and Indus Thunders, where the umpires were attacked. The opposition players were shown inappropriate gestures, and now this, attack of Viju on me. So what type of culture are we bringing into the game? What example are we setting for the future generations? For God's sake, we are playing for entertainment. We are playing for the love of the game, for the passion of the game, and we do the radio show as well for the same reasons. And so do the umpires who, put all their weekend plans aside and come to the game, right? So I sincerely urge and request all the listeners to show some heart for the analysts who are part of the show, and also apply your mind before you accuse of anything. There might be decisions or predictions not in your favor. Maybe there will be a few mistakes, but we need to understand that these individuals are human as well, and human errors have to be forgiven. And I also request you all to respect the umpires, respect the oppositions, and respect the audience and enjoy the game. Be passionate. Give your best. Try to win it. Everyone is here to win it. And if you are the champions, yes, all the other 38 teams will root for you. We have a DCL night where we have all the presentations. We do it in such a grand fashion. There is a reason. We're all doing it for the love and passion of the game. Please understand it. And this is what I wanted to mention it to all the DCL community and all our listeners and all our analysts and the players. Thank you all.
Very good.
So now I
get into predictions. Prediction with weakness and strengths. Gladiators versus Pokeries.
Yes, going into this game, Jagan, Pokeries have won their last 3 games. Every single game for them was a knockout. And, Glads have dismantled Legends in the pre-quarters and they won the quarterfinals very comfortably. So it will be a fitting contest between Gladiators and Pokeries, and also given the history these two teams had in the previous encounters, right? 2 years back, there was 3 years back, there was a tie between Pokeries and Gladiators in the knockout games. It went to the Super 5 and Pokeries won there. And, similarly, Glads and the Pokeries were in the 2014 finals where the result was coming in the last ball. So, but, come this year, Pokeries is almost the same unit, whereas Glads is a blend of 3 different teams, Bridges, Arsenal, and Gladiators. And we have seen that, both the teams have, the superstars from both the teams have put tremendous performances, astonishing performances, and they won the games for their teams. So going into this game, right, I think I'm not sure why Arjun is not turning up for Glads, and I think they are also going to and Taif is also injured. He cannot bowl in this game, which will be a big minus for Gladiators. Whereas coming to Pokeries, I believe at this point they have their full strength. So, as long as Pokeries superstars, I mean, Vignesh and Prasanna do not throw away the wickets, and if Ranjit and Ravi Narla also play well, along with my fellow analyst here, Avinash, then I think Pokeries will win this game, unless someone from Glads puts their hand up and say, yes, we'll win the game for you. And also, Ronak Patel is injured. So these are few factors. That's the reason I'm going against Gladiators.
Okay. So
I
you
was
think-
I was about to come grab your collar this Saturday, KK. For a moment, I was like, I don't count at all anymore. No, but no, I think
Yeah,
whatever
but-
KK has mentioned is pretty true, and I'd just like to add that I think certainly as us pokeries, we respect gladiators a lot. They are formidable opponents, and at least over the last 2 years, I think we've made it a habit of running into teams that are a very potent mix due to their merger and acquisition business. And it was the same when we faced Indus last year, and now we are facing Glad. And so they're obviously a pretty formidable opponent, and we're looking forward to a very, very good game. I think we are certainly not taking a step backwards, and but at the same time, we are very cognizant of how strong an opponent Gladiators are, and we hope for all of you guys' sake that both of us sides give you guys a good show.
Oh, I have a question for you. Is Aditya playing? I didn't see him playing last game. Or
Well, last game he had a conflict with F40, and typically playoffs. I mean, the way we operate as a team is we all show up there, all the probables, and we basically picked 11 on the field. So it's for the game. So it's and to be honest, because I myself am out playing F40 a lot, I somehow have never been part of like the think tank or whatever in pokeries. So, which is why I'm not trying to hide behind anything. I honestly don't know.
Okay. Imthi.
Yes, Jagan. I think matchup wise, I think this is like a dream game when you talk about Gladiators versus Pokeries, because these two teams also have history coming into this game. Whenever they have played against each other, obviously the best out of the players has come out in the games, and we have seen that. Like KK mentioned in one of the games, it went after a tie, it went into the Super Five, and Pokeries won there. And then the other time they met was in the finals of 2014, where Glads was victorious in the very last over. I think like these kind of games kind of remain or etch into your memory, and you kind of always remember these moments. And I think that kind of brings an exciting contest in this semi-final this weekend. So if you look at the teams going like just by the paper strength, Glads definitely looks stronger. But from just a moment ago, what KK mentioned about injuries to Taif and Ronak also getting injured, I think Glads might be a little depleted because of that fact. But again, they do have a very very strong unit where like even if one or two players are not able to give their 100%, I think they do have enough backup in their lineup. And The only other thing I see as a weakness, not as a weakness, but maybe a slight factor for Glads, is that Arjun hasn't played much in this season. And then if he comes into this game, I think uh, uh, definitely he's a class player and he can definitely make an impact. But I think just for the fact that he hasn't played much in this season, that might be a factor. And but again, like you always have Anoop, Udit, Hardeep, and all these big name players for Glads. Glads definitely looks stronger on the paper. On the other hand, if you look at Pokeries, their benches always have been like Vicky, Prasanna, and this season Ranjit and Ravi stepping up in the batting, and also they are like very good all rounders. And I'm pretty sure Aditya Kargadi would be available for this game, and that addition to the team from their quarterfinal game would definitely boost Pokeries like with the lineup. So all in all, because of the injuries to Glads players and Pokeries kind of coming together after the regular season, when they started off the playoffs, most of the DCL community were writing off of Pokeries this season. But I think the way they have transformed once they stepped into the playoffs, I think this makes it a very even to even contest. But at the same moment, like I said, it's definitely a 50-50 game here. But because I have to pick a team, I would just think based on paper strength and the form, Glads might have a slight edge over Pokeries.
Okay, see, basically Pokeris are playing like Afghanistan of Asian Cup. Afghanistan is dominating like anything, right? So
Wow. So one person calls us RCB, another person calls us Afghanistan. Boy, yeah, that's some nice, interesting descriptions for Pokeris.
Pokeris have to challenge themselves to come out of this game. Okay, this is a big game, and we don't have to go back about the history of Pokeris this year. Okay, let's quickly jump into our next game.
Fair enough. Just one point there, Jagan. I not to sound like my dear friend Viju, but it just like he would say, I would not consider Glad depleted unless all 16 or 18 or 20 in their roster are injured. That's the only way they'll ever be depleted, because they seem to have an unending supply of under 19 Bangladesh players and over 30 Indian players. So
very well said. Okay, let's quickly jump into Brownstone versus Knockers, and Imthi is going to umpire this game. So let's skip Imthi for this discussion, and let's start with KK. KK, your thoughts?
Yes, Jagan. Going into the strength and weakness of this game, right? Talal Akram being available for the Brownstone team makes a ton of difference. He bowls, he bats, he comes up with the strategies. He is level-headed, and that also helps Rashid Malik to, run the game a little more smoother than what he usually does. And also now Mansab Butt being available for the rest of the playoff games as well, right? And he's also in form. He's scoring runs. He's picking up wickets. He's fast on the field. So there are a few positives for Brownstone, and their experience matters a lot. And coming to Knockers, we have not seen such a team with consistent performances, right? In the playoff games, you have Deepak, who is in a fantastic form. Then you have Praveen Bangera, then Arun Lavakumar. He himself is in a form of his life, and this will be again a heavyweight contest. But in between, if I had to pick one of these teams, I'll go with Knockers. Just that they have that additional firepower in bowling.
Brownstone strength is their batting, and if they can handle Deepak Bangera and Deepak Gariappa and Praveen Bangera, they'll have upper edge there. Whereas it's the same case with the Knockers. Brownstone weakness is their bowling. Other than Talal and our man Mansab, their bowling is not that great. Okay, and if Knockers can run well, that is another disadvantage for Brownstone. If Knockers can run between the wickets very well, they can tire them very easily and they can win that one. But anyhow, historically, Brownstone somehow something happens to Knockers against Brownstone, and Brownstone ends up winning. And it's the same case with Pokeris and Gladiators too. Pokeris somehow troubled the Gladiators in most cases, just like Brownstone did to Knockers. Your thoughts, Abhi?
You essentially want a Knockers versus Gladiators final, don't you? That's why you are riling up those two teams.
Versus Gladiators? No, see, that's my last question actually. Last question of the show is, do you guys want Gladiators versus Knockers or Pokeris versus Brownstone? That's my next question. But yeah, before we go there, your thoughts on Brownstone versus Knockers game.
Right. So I think I concur pretty much with what KK said and what the points that you yourself made, Jagan. That yes, Brownstone. I might have mentioned this before. They remind me of the New Zealand of the 90s, in where they might not be the strongest team on paper, but they somehow collectively punch above their weight by making very good use of whatever optimal resources they have. But like you said, while their strong suit is batting, Knockers, in between Deepak Raj and Arun and Suyog and Praveen and Prabhu, they have a very intelligent bowling unit that's pretty experienced. And even in the last game, if you see, it was Deepak who stood up and took care of Stallions' main player Shahnawaz in the very first over. So they have a very potent bowling lineup, which should take care of Brownstown's batting firepower. And yes, and even in the batting, with these names that I mentioned, along with Praveen Bangera and even Ganesh Murugan, they have also the batting to, and of course Milan Patel, obviously, they have the batting to exploit the slowness of the Brownstown fielders and the not great threat posed by their bowlers. So if there's one team that can unravel Brownstown's optimal usage plan, it's probably Knockers, and that's the reason why I would pick Knockers.
Okay, so with that, all our predictions, analysis is done. So I want to ask a straightforward question: which will make you more happy? Is it Gladiators versus Brownstone, or Gladiators versus Knockers, Pokeries versus Brownstone, or Pokeries versus Knockers? KK.
You should just send a text out and ask people to respond to that.
I will. Yeah. See, anyhow, it is too late for the next game. I'm going to get predictions from all the captains. That's what I'm planning, and also I plan to bring in man of the matches just to talk about how they felt and what they are going to do in the finals. Okay, so KK, which one?
I want to see. Yeah, Jagan. I want to see Pokeries versus Knockers.
Pokeries versus Knockers.
We have seen this matchup 3 years back. I want to see it again.
Okay, so I'm just again I want to give Imthi a skip here. I don't want to put him give him more pressure now. I think with my questions at the start of the show he had to go through a lot of stress. So I'll go to Avinash. I know Avinash wants Pokeries in the finals, but what do you see?
Why don't we first deal with Saturday and then we'll think about
it? That's an intelligent answer. Okay, with that, let's conclude our show here. We will end the show.
I just wanted to add one thing, if it's okay, just one thing.
Sure.
I know you were asking about the final matchups, but not to talk about the game I'm umpiring, the teams involved in that. But from a neutral perspective, I would like to see Pokeries in finals just for the fact that just to see a new winner for DCL. That's the only thing that I wanted to say.
You read my mind, See, I was thinking, I was looking at all these 4 competitors there. If Pokeries win, I think entire DCL will be very happy for several reasons. One, Pokeries, they made it to finals several times and never made it to and never won. So a lot of people that I talk, they want Pokeries to win. Reason 1 is that. Reason 2 is, some of their stars ditched the team in the middle of the season. So Pokeries had to really struggle to be here in this position. That is the second thing. A lot of people want Pokeries to win. And another important point is, they want to, my entire DCL family, they want to see a new winner. So Gladiators, Brownstone, Knockers, they already are champions in this league. So you just reminded the same thing. Okay. With that, I'll take last words from all our analysts and close this show. I'll start with Imthi.
Yeah, thanks, Jagan, and thanks to all the listeners for being patient and listening to our show. And I would like to wish all the semi-final teams, Gladiators, Pokeries, Brownstown, and Knockers, all the very best for the games. Play hard, play fair, and may the best team win on the day. Good luck to the teams.
Okay, KK.
Good luck to all the 4 semi-finalists. It's not easy to be here. You have the top 4 teams out of the 39 teams that are playing this year, and may the best teams win. And I'm hoping for Pokeries versus Knockers final.
Okay, Avi. Before you start, thanks a lot for coming to the show. I actually invited Avi after starting the show because Jesse had to drop out due to some emergency. So thanks a lot once again from DCL Radio and DCL community.
Oh, you're very welcome, Jagan. Thank you so much again for having me and for thinking of me and to have me on board. It's always a pleasure to be part of the show and to the wider DCL community at large. I'd just like to say that not just me personally or my team Pokeries, but even us gladiators, knockers, Brownstown. I'm sure all of us would appreciate having a sizable crowd to play in front of. So and all four of these teams have played hard, played fair, played very good cricket to reach to this stage in a very competitive league. So please do show up in your numbers and please encourage all of us, and that will enthuse us into hopefully giving you guys a good show. So look forward to seeing as many of you as possible on Saturday, and good luck to all the teams out there.
Thanks a lot, Avi. And you know, the idea of bringing you into this show in the last second is Imti's. So credit goes to Imti. Okay, thanks a lot.
Yes, I did get a text from him. Yeah, thanks, Imthi.
Thanks a lot, all of you guys. And you know, with that, we'll conclude tonight's show. Good night and good luck to all the teams. Keep listening DCL Radio. This is DCL Talk Show. Thank you.